Good morning, Corey. How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Good, good. Um, Corey, I forgot I was going to ask, which school are you with? I'll pull it up. I always forget. Oops, I lost you, Corey. Good morning, Amanda. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
Good. I can't complain, just waiting on everybody else. Amanda, which school are you with?
East Mountain High School.
Okay, Have we met? I'm trying to remember
We
if we've
have,
met.
yes.
Okay, good. And I missed the last meeting. Were you in Carlsbad?
No, I couldn't make it.
I couldn't either, and it was my meeting. I had a pretty big sickness just pop up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Brian, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing good.
Good. Your comments are great, Brian, on the what you'd like us to discuss at the next meeting.
Oh, we're right at that stage where we're trying to get everything figured out. So,
Yeah, we could just take your list and make that the agenda. Hey, Don. Don's on here too. Good. We're getting a good group. Brian, you are at Deming, is that right?
yes.
And you and I have not met, correct?
I was at, I think it would, I can't remember if we've met or not. I thought maybe at the meeting you were there. I can't remember.
No, I was not at the Carlsbad meeting. That's the one I missed.
I think I was at one of the ones before that.
Okay, good. Hey, Don, how are you doing this morning?
Joseph, good to hear you.
Yeah, it's good to have a voice. I don't know if Danielle told you, but when I got sick, it wiped out my voice. I couldn't talk for about a month.
That's a real challenge for you, I would
Yeah,
imagine.
it was a real challenge. And honestly, I'm probably only about 70% back. But yeah, that came out of nowhere.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, we're just grateful.
So-
What a blessing! What a blessing to have you. So
Yeah,
don't rush
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Don't rush it back.
Yeah, I tell you what, I definitely, it was definitely a wake-up call. You know, you think you're healthy. I ride a bicycle to my office, which is 20 miles. So I probably ride my bicycle 150 miles a week.
Wow.
And I thought it was healthy. You know? And
Well,
so,
you are.
Yeah.
You are, and that's why you made it through that, I'm sure.
Yeah, so it was one of those crazy things. I don't know who else. I did not get a big list of attendees for this meeting, and so we will wait another minute or two. I've got Amanda, Brian, and Don, you're on here, and we'll wait. I did see Colby just a minute ago, and he jumped off. So he was on for about 5 minutes and then jumped off, but we'll wait a second. I'm going to record it for those that miss, and we're going to be together in a few weeks. And good news is we do have almost 25, 27 people signed up for the Santa Fe meeting. So it's really good. And the comments of what people want to discuss are really good. I've been working on putting the agenda together. Brian, you had great comments, but you know, other people, Don, were you the one that asked about assessment?
Yes.
We've got, I did not get the person you requested, but I did get a lady named Dr. Bridget Russell, and apparently she's in charge of the assessment for PED, and so she's going to come over and talk to us for an hour.
That's great.
So, yeah, so we did get her, and that was the person they recommended. I don't know her, but
Good.
I talked with her on the phone, and she said she was going to talk about assessment, graduation requirements, and some of that other stuff. So it checks off a couple of big buckets on this list that people wanted to talk about. So
That's great. That's great.
So we do have her. So we'll wait another minute or two and see. Has it snowed yet, Don, up where you're at?
No weather. Dry, warm. It's been a very warm fall for sure.
Wow, we had snow last week in Tennessee. And trust me, when we get snow in Tennessee in November, all bets are off. Everything shuts down, and it was like an inch.
Yeah, not ready for it that time.
No, we're not ready for it ever in Tennessee. But yeah.
We're usually January, February, our heavy moisture season. So we're just hanging on the good weather. I'm sure Thanksgiving break will have some to navigate travel and all that, and of course, I'm sure Tuesday in Santa Fe might be a little
Might be cold, right?
challenging. Yeah, I know there's some weather coming in that area this week even.
Oh, like the last thing we want is weather on December the 3rd, right?
Right. So we'll get it now and hopefully it'll clear up.
Hopefully it'll clear up. Hey, Brian, you're on video. I see you, buddy.
Yeah, I just figured out I have to open up my laptop to get the camera to come on. Couldn't figure out what was going on there.
Yeah. Well, I thought what I would do is first thing I wanted to do is kind of review, since we've got a small group of people on here. And let me change my screen for a minute. I'm going to share the agenda I've put together, and I thought we could talk about that first. Did the agenda pop up?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
good. And before we do this, since we don't have that many people on there, why don't we just go around, introduce ourselves. For those that don't know me, because I missed Carlsbad, Joseph Goins, and happy to say I've been working with this group. This will be my 4th year, and it's been probably the most rewarding work I've done in a long time. Just to, if I reflect back to where we started 4 years ago. Don, were you in that first meeting 4 years ago?
Yes, Joseph, I was.
Yeah, it was a tough, brutal meeting, but to see where we've come from then, and to really believe what I think is what we've built is a community of best practices, to where we really can come together and share and look at different things. And so, and Brian, I know you're relatively new to the group, and we've got a bunch of new principals that are joining us too. I think we've got 4 new schools that PED is sending me, and so we'll loop them into the group as well. And so, but it's really truly an honor to do this work and to bring these meetings together. But Don, why don't we start with you? Hey, Corey is jumping on too, so we'll wait 1 second on Corey. Hey, Corey.
Hello.
We lost you there for a second, but glad you came back.
Thank you. Yeah, it kind of did like a weird thing on my computer.
No problem. But what we're doing, Corey, since we have such a small group, I thought we would do introductions. And Don, why don't you just introduce yourself real quick, and then we'll go to Brian and Amanda after that.
Thanks, Joseph. Again, it's great to hear you, and we're glad you're doing better and on the way to recovery. And certainly, I know it was a shock to you and a shock to us as well. As if that can happen to you, it can happen to any of us, that's for sure. So, and I would echo your comments about 4 years ago and where we've come, and certainly the opportunity to network within our own state, I think, really has been advantageous to all of us, and trying to find best practices and to feel like we're not singletons out there in our state. And so I really appreciate your commitment and dedication, because without you, we would not be where we are today. So I'm Don Lorette. I'm principal at San Juan College High School in Farmington. We are on site at San Juan College Community College, San Juan College here in Farmington. And we are in our 4th year, and we have our first graduation cohort May of 2020. We're very excited about, and we really appreciated the convenings and getting on site. And even Carlsbad a long way, but what a great outing that was, and to see the success, it just builds encouragement and some positivity back in our own community. So again, we thank you for taking the time to have us this morning. Looking forward to it.
Great, thank you, Don. And why don't we go to Amanda next?
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Amanda Millay. I'm the assistant principal at East Mountain Charter High School. This is our 20th year as a school, and so we're really excited about that. We have more of an early college high school philosophy here at the school. We do not have our designation from PED, and I don't see that forthcoming anytime soon. We've had several meetings, and our format here at the high school is a little different than I think that they're looking for. But we still do really have that early college, high school focus. And I would still appreciate being a member of this group, even though we don't have that technical designation from PED.
You're working toward it. That's always a good answer, right, Amanda?
Yep.
And
Yep,
there
that,
is a,
you know, we have a small school. We're, you know, 357 students. About, I would say, a good 90% of our students are going to go on to college and pursue a degree that that we tend to work with students on that liberal arts associate's degree, and we don't have that that component of that business piece, and that's the part that we're struggling with.
okay.
And that's why we still continue to not have our designation. And so, yeah, that's just the part that we struggle with kind of being a little more rural, a little more, you know, would require kids to drive into Albuquerque, where some of our families don't want that to happen, in order to I don't know, get that business partnership going. That's the trouble that we've been in. But the majority of our students are really looking at that liberal arts associate's degree and really seeing how they can use that to maximize their experiences in high school, kind of leading into college.
Well, Amanda, who is your coach? Do you have a coach from PED that's assigned to you?
Louise?
Yeah, and that's, you know, Jennifer, there's a lady named Jennifer Black. Has anybody talked with her yet?
No.
She's new. Miss Williams, I believe she retired, and that might be a gap too. And she will be at our meeting on December the 3rd. And so we'll definitely get you looped in with the new person on
Okay.
that designation status, because there might be some interesting things we can do. And I don't want to take up the time on this, but I
Sure.
helped a group of 7 rural school districts recently do an IT pathway that's entirely online, to where the business
Oh.
partners,
Uh-huh.
and it kind of satisfies that, but we chose IT specifically
Yeah.
around some of the reasons you're talking about, to where we could focus on an IT pathway. So I'll probably share a little bit of that work at the
Yeah.
meeting, because kind of excited, because it might bridge a gap to say that, you know, we can create some virtual pathways in rural
Right.
areas. And so I'll share a little more of that on the
Yeah,
3rd.
that'd be nice.
But there's a new coach. I do know Louise. I believe she retired, because I got a notice from a lady named Jennifer Black from PED. So
Oh,
we'll
okay.
get looped with her and get that. And I'm positive she's going to be at the meeting. I mean, the nice thing, it's
Okay.
good and bad about doing the meeting in Santa Fe on December the 3rd. I've got a lot of PED people that will pop their heads over.
Right.
So we can have as much at PED as you want at that
Yeah.
meeting, because we literally are about a mile or two from PED. So, but that is something I will share with you, because I think that IT pathway
Okay.
might be something you can look at. And how we're doing it up in Raton. Am I saying that right? Is that Raton, New Mexico?
Raton. Mhm.
Raton, thank you. We're doing it up in that area,
Okay.
and with our rural school districts. And so it'll be an interesting project, I think, to see what happens with that. Okay.
Yeah.
So, but we specifically dove into that for what you said, and so we'll get back to that. Okay, Brian, you want to do a quick introduction?
Yeah, so I have been I've been finding these meetings very helpful, just trying to find out what other people are doing and how they're doing, different aspects of this. So the meeting in Carlsbad was really helpful. I got a lot out of that. My name is Brian Simpson. I'm the principal at the Early College High School in Deming, New Mexico, and we're in our 2nd cohort. And so we're in the midst of trying to figure out our 3rd year right now, in terms of staffing, in terms of, what the structure is going to look like, what the student experience is going to look like. And so, it's all exciting. It's a lot of work, but we have lots of questions.
That's good. And, you know, in a minute, I'm going to show you guys something that hopefully there's two things coming that I think are going to make you guys excited. There's a really good grant coming out that is explicitly focused on early college, high school, which is great, right? And so we'll talk about that now and at the meeting. Corey.
So Corey Brown with Early College here in Roswell. We are on the NMUR campus, and this is going to be our third graduation cohort in May, and looks like we're growing every year. So this has been a process. I know for myself and my principal, LaShawn Bird, this is our second year here, and so we're new to the early college, and this group has definitely helped us with learning and for questions and stuff that we have had.
Great, Corey. And I've been to your site. It's been about 2 years, but yeah, you guys, you're right there, right next to the college, right? In fact, you're right across the street, if I remember correctly, right?
Now we've actually, since then, we are on the campus itself. We have a building here on the campus, so our students just walk out and go straight to, you know, class, sometimes across the walkway. So
that's awesome.
It's been nice right here on campus.
Okay, that's great. All right, well, thanks. And I knew we were going to have a small group this morning. I thought I'd put this up on the screen real quick because you guys are talking about the hard work that you guys are doing. And how many people are familiar with the Wattworks Clearinghouse?
No.
I'm very familiar with the Wattworks Clearinghouse, and I pulled this up because this is real. I cannot understate how big this is. The Wattworks Clearinghouse, in theory and in practice, is supposed to be a clearinghouse that looks at best practices. And I mean, we're talking about whether it's in mathematics, you pick a topic, and if you go to the Wattworks Clearinghouse, and I can tell you, having worked with the Wattworks Clearinghouse, they've reviewed probably 2,000 different models and different applications, and they probably have found less than 50 to be effective. So when you're talking about high-end research and high-end validity, this is as high as you can go, is the Wattworks Clearinghouse. And very, very few, if any, models make it through the Wattworks Clearinghouse. You can go look at like mathematics, and you can look at what's rated to be highly effective, and you're talking about all the publishers, and there's like 1 or 2, period. That's it, right? So the Wattworks Clearinghouse, in theory, is this governing body that tries to validate what's working, and they published this model November the 4th. And in order to be in the Wattworks Clearinghouse, you have to go through about a 3 to 4 year process. This isn't something like, if I wanted to be in the Wattworks Clearinghouse tomorrow, it'll take me about 3 years. And so this is very important. And so the fact that the Wattworks Clearinghouse validated early college high schools is a big deal. And so if you guys are ever in need of validated research, this is as high as you can get. If you need to beat your head over the community and what you're doing, they looked at this, and they found 3 of the 4 things they were measuring to be highly effective, and I highlighted them there. Statistically significant impact on college credits, high school graduation, college enrollment, and degree attainment. And so this is as high as you can get as far as in looking at this. And why I think this is really important to cite is because you now kind of can say unequivocally there is an effect size on early college high schools in the work that you're doing. Does that make sense to each of you guys?
Mm-hmm.
Much so.
Yeah, and so you might want to just keep this. I know I sent it out, but I mean, this is, again, as high as you can get. And I mean, for them to have found 3 out of the 4 measures to be effective, it means any grant you're writing from now on, you can cite this, and it's literally considered gold level research, right? It's the highest you can get. You really can't get any higher than this. It'd be like FDA drug testing, right? It means the drug works, right? And that's what, and in theory, that's what the Whitewater's Clearinghouse is supposed to be. They have a problem in the fact that most publishers don't want to go through the work, right? And that should tell you all you need to know. But most publishers that make content don't want to go through the study and the protocols, and so I think that's a very interesting thing that most vendors don't want to do the work. But the ones that do, and the research on early college high school is very good. And that actually leads into one more thing that I think is important. This is not past the House or the Senate yet, the College Affordability Act, but it's making its way through. Believe it or not, they're doing something besides what they're doing. They are trying to pass this in the House and the Senate. But what makes this really, really important is if you see this thing down here to where it says expand access to early college high school programs, they literally are taking that research I just showed you and they're putting it in this bill.
Wow.
And right now they've earmarked $250 million to expand early college high schools nationwide, right? Now it hasn't passed yet, but the fact that they have this in the language explicitly focused on early college high school, in theory means they're going to roll out a grant for early college high schools if this passes, right? Does that make sense for you guys?
Yep.
So, I'll pay attention to it, but this, it still has to pass the House and the Senate. But these are the kind of bills that very few people protest, right? Like when Perkins 5 passed, I think there was one person voted against it, right? I mean, who's going to vote against expanding jobs, right, for youth, right? And this is another one of those bills that I think will probably go through pretty quickly, but it'll set up some interesting opportunities. But you'll see the research is going to tie directly into that bill, and so it'll be good to watch. I know somebody commented on their on things they want to talk about is, things like grants and how do we focus more on that. But this is something we can kind of pay attention to see when it passes and what they're going to do with it. And you can track the bill. Yep.
Joseph, this is Don.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to go back over this on December 3rd while the PED is there?
I will, because I think it's important, because I think it's because what they may do with sometimes what they do with these, and this is where it always gets out of like they end up creating state block grants, and then the state can roll it out however they want, right? So if they put $250 million into this right here, they may make the states request it as like a block grant, and then they give the money to the states, and the states figure out how they're going to spend the money. So it just depends on when they give. Right now it's just one sentence, but when they give you the detail behind how they're going to roll it out, that's where it'll be important. Are they going to make it like a competitive grant? Are they just going to give it to the states in block grants and let the states apply for it? And so
even the What Works Clearinghouse report, are you going to put that on the ECHS website?
I will, because it really it's that big of a deal.
Right.
Like,
and I know with the PED, last year, not to get in a big debate about charter schools, but they lumped early college high school in with charter schools on funding. And we worked so hard to separate early college high school out, to identify whether you're a charter or private, however you're doing it, but the systemic approach, we wanted to see that language separated out, and it didn't. And so we all are on a progressive reduction for funding within our districts based on that new formula. So anything to show early college high school as a whole, the benefits
Yeah,
of that, I hope, and from PED will spark some conversations.
yeah, I'll do a little review on this and make sure, and I'll actually pull up, like, you guys, if you guys are looking, you see I pulled up the Waterworks Clearinghouse, and in theory, I agree with you. If you are lumped in with charter schools, the research on charter schools is all over the map, right? Whereas the early college, high school research right now is all very, very positive, right?
Correct.
And you know, you can look at, I mean, again, they have charter schools and they have all this research up here that you can look at. And this is why I said, if you want to go here, and this is just good work for anything else, you know. So these are all, I mean, just looking at math, these are all the different products they've tried to look at and measure to say, like, if you're buying these products, do they work, right? And very few of them have any research. In fact, I think all of these down here have no research. And so all these companies that come to you that tell you they're research based, well, in theory, they're not. In theory, they have a quasi experience, right? Which means they found a school that's going to say something nice. And that's different than saying we're going to go do research, right? And even research that's positive, typically they'll find, you know, I'm just going to pick one, see if they have any. I just picked this one, right? So here's one to where, you know, they've got 4 studies that meet the standards on this product in alphabetics, and they got 3, and then one study on reading fluency, right? And so it just depends on what you want to look at, but they do a good job of trying to push companies and people to look at this, right? And so when you see this little plus rating, this means the one study they have is positive, and has met the standards on research, right? And so when they say they have 10,000 citations and they've looked at early college, high school, it's a pretty big deal. And so I'll actually pull this web. It's a pretty good idea just to pull it up and show you where that research is embedded in the Waterworks Clearinghouse, Don, because I think it'd be good for people to see, you know, where this research goes, right? And yeah, it would be good for PED, I think, to hear this, right? They should be aware of it, but if not, we'll pull it up, okay? And make sure they're aware of it. Any questions are just about, like, I will recap some of this. And in fact, let me pull up the agenda before we go through this and see if you guys have any changes on this. Because what I try to do, I try to bring the feedback you guys are giving me and what you would like to see. And so what I've put together is Bridget Russell from PED is going to come talk about assessment. And I've already got her presentation. She's already sent it to me. But I asked her to talk about the SAT, graduation requirements, and really anything you guys want to talk to as far as it relates to assessment. But she's coming and she will be prepared. I know she's going to talk about the, is it the PSAT that they also do? Are you guys also doing the PSAT? So she's going to talk about that too. So, but anything else you guys need her to talk about, obviously. And then I've got grants highlighted on the agenda, collaboration, and we want to change some economic modeling with your pathways this year. And so I want to kind of show that real quick. But then these are the topics that I received from everybody. And so the first one was intervention plans, what to do with students who do not test in the college math or English, work study, and that obviously might work well with you, Amanda, when we start talking about work study and business partnerships, SEL, social and emotional support. And if you don't know anything about Ann's school, the school we're going to, I really believe she probably has one of the best SEL models I've seen. And so I think going through her program, we might see some stuff and have her really talk about that. But that was actually turned in by somebody different. STEM programs and availability, midterm grade. This has come up quite a bit. Midterm grade reports from post-secondary partners. So it would be good to have a discussion about that again. because I know I've talked to other people, they don't get the grades until the very end. How do they find out how they're doing and what people are getting in the middle of that? Transfer students, master schedule, crosswalks, and graduation requirements. Anything else we're missing in that big bucket? There's a lot there, and obviously
There's a lot there.
I'll try to organize them into big buckets and try to keep them. I just threw them all on the agenda, and maybe we'll try to put them into different buckets to where we're tackling like social emotional learning, and then we're tackling post-secondary, and maybe we're tackling business and partnerships. And so, but anything we're missing there, like I said, we could really spend the whole agenda just on what's been turned in there. But anything that's missing, we should add.
Say that'll be a major feat if we get to all that.
Correct.
So adding, I mean, there's probably some other things we could add, but I think we need to try and identify these and try and get through those. And maybe even, Joseph, if we could do a webinar, follow-up webinar on the ones we don't get to.
Absolutely.
If we can't wait to our next convening.
Yep, I totally agree.
Yeah.
And what I may do too is, Bridget said she could take anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour. It depends on how many questions you guys have, but we have her. And I told her, since she's there, if we need to spend an hour with her, we will, right? Because obviously we're going to talk about graduation requirements and assessments, some of that with her, right? And so, yeah, that would be really good. And one of the things we did not do in Carlsbad, because I didn't come, but I really want to, one of the things, since we're all together, I may try to do like 5 to 10 minute interviews with everybody that comes, just in one-on-one quick sessions, have my communications director come, and so we can capture something that we can eventually put together that tells the story from all of you guys at one time. And so I may bring my marketing communication person with me and say, let's record everybody for 5 minutes and have you describe and that way we could put it together in one recording. And we tried to do, we were going to do it in Carlsbad, and obviously I didn't come, but I would really like to put it together so that people can just go back and reflect and say, what does Don do, or what does Amanda do? And so that's why that's down there at the bottom. And so, and if we do it, we'll set it up outside the room somewhere, and I'll have my marketing person just record everybody for 5 to 10 minutes, and that way we could capture what's going on, and then I can put it back together in a recording. And so that's why that's on the agenda as well. And
Joseph,
so,
would it be possible to, I mean, are you going to do rooms for people again? And if so,
I do. I block out rooms every time. I think I've got 7, 8 rooms blocked out, and they're in Santa Fe. So if people need to come up the night before, you guys just got to let me know and send me an email.
My question would be, would it be possible to maybe show up at 9?
Sure.
Or something to do that 10-minute interview and get
Sure.
some of them out of the way, the ones that are there and the ones, as opposed to the ones that are driving up that day.
That's a really good idea, Don. I will put that in an email to the group. And like I said, right now, I think I've got like 22, 23 people, not including PD. So we're going to push 30 people with PD people coming over.
Right.
I know Elaine's coming. And we'll have Jennifer Black. I believe she's the new person for PD that will be tasked with managing early college high school instead of Louise Williams. And so we definitely want her there. And Bridget will be there. And I've invited some people from DWS, from Workforce, to just in case we need to talk to them. It's always good to have them in the room. And so, so yeah, I think having, you know, sometimes I love going to these other places, but obviously when we have it in Albuquerque or Santa Fe, we can take advantage of the powers that be, right? Don, that's a good idea. I'll send out an email asking people, because I'm actually going to come in Monday morning because I want to do a couple meetings with PED on Monday. So I'll be there, and so we could start as early as people want to on the 3rd.
Right. So, sounds good.
Good idea. Well, I'll send the agenda to everybody. I'm going to send it to everybody that's registered. And obviously, I'll send it out to the larger group. Just saying, if you haven't registered, make sure you register in case we're missing a couple of people. I don't think we are, but I will double check on that. So one last thing I wanted to cover today, and I'm going to go back to this and show a couple of things I want to make sure people are jumping into. So I am on, and we will do this again, and so I'm not going to spend a tremendous amount of time, but we have tried to redesign this page. As I say, when we do our research, I always try to make what we do look like PED. I try to use their new color, their new logos, and everything they're doing now. So we did a full redesign, but to your point, Don, about research, we're trying to put the research in certain places. So like that's the surveys we did back. But this right here is really important too. If you guys are on the website, this is the Legislative Finance Committee's review. And so if you remember, we had a lady named Ashley from LFC come to several of our meetings. In fact, Dawn, I think she was in particular at yours,
Right.
because they really wanted, LFC from New Mexico wanted to see if this was a good idea to continue spending their money. And this is a pretty good report that's internally done by New Mexico. And so if you haven't, this is one that is explicitly focused on New Mexico. And they basically say that the data tells a good story, that they think further research needs to be done to really measure the outcomes. But in regards, they're pretty happy with it. So this is good. It's not like, again, they're doing a quasi analysis. And so it's not like what would consider, like if you sent this to the Waterworks Clearinghouse, they would probably accept it, but they would probably say, it doesn't necessarily meet our standards, but we will consider it as kind of a quasi. And so they would note that and they'd probably accept it. But again, it offers some local research. So I'll probably put that Waterworks Clearinghouse up here on the front screen as well as an important thing for people to see, okay?
Yes, great.
One of the things I need help with, and I probably need help from Jennifer Black as well as each of you, but I probably need to go through and update all of this information on all the schools. And I actually received information for PED, and I have not had a chance to put it up there, but cases to where there's new principles or cases to where there's new data. So this page will change probably during the month of December. I'll probably have my staff update this. But if you want to go look at your school and make sure I've got information correct and maybe bring it to December the 3rd, I will try to update it. I know we have a couple of new schools on there as well. And schools that maybe are working toward becoming like Amanda U, we can still list you. We will just denote that you have not received your designation yet, and
Right.
you're up here, and so we can continue that. And I think it's really good to keep that up there. The other big thing we will be doing this year is updating the entire policy manual. This was done about 1.5 years ago, and so there's some new information from the state we need to put in there. We will probably do that in the month of December as well. And the last thing, though, that I think, and this is something that PED really asked me to do, and I'm really happy with it. We just have to see if people use it. So first, one of the things I will start asking people to do to make sure, just where it says stay informed, put in your email address and click submit. Believe it or not, I have over 140 people that are on my early college high school distribution list. At one point or another, they've asked to be on it, right? And I keep adding to it, but I think we want to kind of go back and see if people really want to be on it. So first thing is just put your email address and click submit, and it's going to create a master list. But we have started a community discussion board. In fact, I'm already logged in, so I need to go back and not log in. But when you click join, and let me see if I can do a new website real quick so you guys actually see what it looks like. You see my page, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you click join down here, it's going to ask me to register. And so what we've done is we've created a discussion board to where you can post questions, and everybody that is registered will receive an email saying, hey, Don posted a question on the early college high school discussion board related to X, right? And so the first thing we want is for people to register, and then you will get a page and you will be able to see, I've posted a couple of sample ones just to see if it's working, but we can have a discussion board to where you guys can collaborate just ongoing, and we can do kind of threaded conversations, right? And so once you register, you'll be on there and you'll be able to create a new topic. So if Amanda's on, she wants to post a topic, that's all she's got to do. Click start, and everybody that's a part of that group will see that, right? And this has come up a couple of times. How can we collaborate? I know Elaine really asked me to do this last year, and we could never technically figure out a way to do it. We tried it a couple of different ways, but we've got it to where it's fairly simple now. And so, and if you want to play around with it before December the 3rd, again, what you'll do just down here at the bottom, you'll just click join, and you can start the discussion, and everybody else that is a part of that, they will get an email. So it's almost acts as like an automatic email. So Don posted a message today on XYZ. It'll provide the link, and you can jump right into the discussion and answer Don's questions, okay? And so
That's really good, Joseph.
yeah, and so what we're trying to do is just allow a little bit more of that collaboration more and more. And so once you're there, and I'll definitely redo this. In fact, if everybody's got their computers, I may ask everybody to register right there on December the 3rd, and we'll get 20 people registered all at one time. And then anybody that posts a question, everybody will get an email saying somebody posted something about such and such, and you can click on, and it'll click a kind of a threaded board conversation for you to do that, okay? And so that's something I want to make sure we do at the meeting.
Okay.
I'm sorry, did you have something, Amanda?
No, I just logged in and I got in
Okay,
to
perfect.
the discussion board. Yeah, it was easy.
Yeah, and so once you can create a topic, right now it's probably only you and I, so I would get an email, but eventually when everybody gets on, as soon as you post something, everybody else will get an alert sent to their email, and that's what we want. You know,
Okay,
we want
nice.
people to be able to very quickly say, hey, we've got this community, somebody posted a quick question, Dr. Hunter's going to respond to it, and so on, and I think it'll really, really help. I hope, and so we'll see if we can get everybody on the 3rd, and we'll drive that behavior. So that's it. I'm excited about it. I didn't, like I said, I wanted to go through the grants, the collaboration, the agenda for December the 3rd. Like Don said, I believe we've got plenty on the agenda. And I think you guys are really gonna, like, and believe it or not, the very first ever early college high school I went to 4 years ago was Ann's. And Ann falls into the same category to where she has not gotten her designation status either. And so, but what she does in her program, I think is a different model. And I think like she's got a terrific SEL model, and is in all, I mean, she's embedded in the college. And so I think you guys will really enjoy that. And so I'm excited to show that. And one last question. This year, the state budgeted us to do 3 early college high school convenience. This will be our second. So our third one will be late February, 1st of March. But does anybody have a location, push, I can tell you one or two places people have asked me is to go to Gallup to see Dr. Hunter's program. He's been around a long time. The other one is to go see, back to your area, Don, and see Milo's new program up in, I guess he would be Central, right? Central Consolidated School District, right?
Hey, Don, or hey, Joseph, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Oh, hey, Milo, you're on.
Yeah,
Great.
Sorry, we had some busing issues this morning, but I made it. So I'm open to it. I would really like to see the Gallup one personally. I think they're the oldest one in the state of New Mexico. And I'm just kind of curious there, but we can do it here as well.
Okay, well, those are the two big ones, Milo, have been yours and Dr. Hunter's, just because of what you said. And if I remember correctly, does anybody know how far he is from Albuquerque? Hour?
About 2 hours.
Okay. Everything's 2 to 3 hours in New Mexico. So I don't know how far of a drive it is for certain people to get there. But that's definitely been one that has been turned in. Milo, yours, and Dr. Hunter's. And so maybe we'll take a poll at the December the 3rd meeting. We've got a big group at the December the 3rd meeting. And Milo, you're not going to be able to make it on December the 3rd, right?
I will not be able to make it,
okay.
No. Joseph, have you gotten any more information about, I know we're kind of a little different because we're an academy. We're not like a full-fledged early college high school site. Did that kind of go through the stuff Elaine was working on last year?
Honestly, I don't know.
Okay.
I can tell you the big grant we worked on did not get funded. We were rated very high. We did not get funded. In fact, I'm going to bring it with us, and I have the grant on the website. So if you want the grant application we actually turned in, click about, and all of the grant we turned in for that $8 million project is listed here. I thought having access to, we did a lot of work. I don't want to waste the work. And so if it's something we can reuse, one of the things I actually want to try to do, and I was going to talk to Elaine about this, is to strip the grant down. Like, I mean, when we did the federal grant, it was $8 million, and you had to have, like, I mean, we had a researcher that was charging us over $2 million in this grant, right? But if we strip down some of the cost, I would like to still take this grant to some private foundations. I think the work we did is very, very good, and it was all around the academy model. Is expanding the early college high school. But we built money in this project for the freestanding as well, if you remember. And so I'd like to strip it down, package it, and take it to some foundations and say, we were really close to getting funded, and here's our application, and based upon the Wattworks Clearinghouse and all this other work, we would like to expand this work. And so I'd like to shop it to some foundations, if you will, where they don't have a big grant process. And I think if we strip down some of that extra cost, I think I can get it down to maybe a $3 or $4 million project for one of these big foundations. And so I'm going to ask Elaine for permission to do that. Like, how do we take a ton of work that went into this and find one of these foundations that wants to try to fund it? I mean, the Daniels Foundation originally funded the early college high schools in New Mexico to begin with, and their project, when they started, I believe it was $500,000. And so it might even be worth to take it back to the Daniels Foundation to say, look at what we've been doing and where we're at, and see if they're interested in expanding that. But it was focused on the academy model, if you remember as well, Milo.
Yeah.
So, I don't know what Elaine was doing with it, but we can ask her for sure. I actually called her this morning, but she was running to a meeting, so I missed her. But if you want access to the grant and what we did, just go to About, and I've kind of put it up here so you can download even our logic model. That's a lot of work where we talked about what we were trying to accomplish, and you can see the entire final application, and like what we said we were going to try to accomplish. And so I think I could strip it down, mark it to some foundations, and it doesn't hurt, I don't think, to send it to 5 to 10 foundations and say, hey, do you guys want to do this? But obviously I don't want to do it without all of your guys' permission and PED's permission, right? But it is something I want to focus on, Milo.
Okay, great.
Any other questions, guys? And thanks for jumping on, Milo.
Yeah, sorry to be late, man.
Any other questions, guys? We all set for the 3rd? Hey, Milo, before we hang up, can I call you? I've got a quick question about something not related to early college high schools I wanted to ask you about.
Yes.
Give me your number real quick. Sorry,
Okay.
I hate to do it on an open conference
call.
No
problem. It's 598-4581, and that's a 505 number. So 505-598-4581.
Okay. It's just Elaine asked me something about Central Consolidated School District, and I told her I would call you.
Okay, great.
So anything else, guys, for the group? I will see everybody on the 3rd. If you need a hotel room, make sure you email me. We've got enough budget dollars to maybe pay for 7 to 10 rooms. And so I think I've got a block of them on hold for those that it's too far of a drive. But I will see everybody on December the 3rd, and looking forward to it. You'll see several emails. Obviously, everybody, I'll send out an email to everybody that's registered, thanking them. And then I'm going to send out an email to everybody else, reminding them to register if they have not. So you'll get 2 emails from me. But if anybody needs anything else, just let me know, okay?
Okay.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Talk to you guys soon.